Alrighty, 501. We'll do a bit of an introduction here and then we'll start chatting about the content. So just preface this by saying thanks everyone for coming, taking time out of your afternoon. Great to have you here. I don't know if you know much about us or who we are, but our company's called EAS and we do a lot of the mental health and mental performance stuff for various teams in both um, volleyball, hockey, football, soccer, tons of sports focused in and centered out of Edmonton, but all across Canada is who we're working with. And then this is just some of the various group who work with us. Dr. Mrazek is our psychology lead and develops most of the content and reviews it and does it from that side. Jason's our CEO. Jeff is our performance guy. Myself and Greg. And then we're partnered with NHL Hall of Famer and legend Paul Coffey also. So those are some of our team, and then we have a big team of other practitioners behind the scenes doing one-on-one mental health work or mental performance consulting, kind of whatever teams or individuals or parents, families, coaches, refs, whatever they need to be feeling and performing at their best. So these are just a bit of Marty's credentials, and everything we base is from internationally recognized programs and clinically validated um, ideas. A lot of the things we go off of too are built into the IOC International Olympic Committee's framework and policy around mental health and mental performance. So we're not spitting out random facts just to be saying things. This is stuff that's used in pro sports all around the world. Australia, New Zealand, their rugby teams, all the IOC, IIHF, pro volleyball across Canada and the US into Europe. A lot of our good friends between Greg and I play pro volleyball now or play on Team Canada, guys we've played with before. They're just a little bit better than us. Not that much better, but just a hair. Or else me and him would also be at the Olympics, but we're not. So we get the pleasure of being here chatting with you guys. So that's a bit about the company. Marty's also the consultant for all of the CFL. The NHL works directly with the Oilers. It's a little bit of a sore note right now on that one, so let's not talk about the game yesterday or the past few weeks. But I mean, that's the area we're in. So with all that, it's great that you're here. I think this group is the younger group. So this is really just a preface into what mental health, wellness, and performance is and how they all tie together. It's those building blocks of how do you get a jump start and how do you approach the game and how can you use these skills? Because nowadays everyone does a lot of physical training, but not a whole lot of mental performance and mental training is being utilized on a very structured or continual basis. So, with that being said, a lot of the things that you can do now at this point, and which you can build into throughout your volleyball careers, and realistically any sport you choose to play, because I'm sure all of you are playing various other sports too, in school and clubs and whatever it is. There's a lot of easy, low-hanging fundamentals to start learning now that will help carry you through for the rest of your playing careers, into your college life, after that, wherever you go, whether it's work or sport. All these concepts can be utilized, and this is just a really good starting point for that health, wellness, and performance aspect. And then just a little bit of a background. I played college volleyball for 5 years, but before that, I actually was ski racing at a very high international level. And a lot of the things in here are things that I learned too in my ski racing days when I was your age and younger. Started doing the mindfulness, the visualization, kind of the body awareness situations to help you be able to pre-rehearse or be ready or focus better. So it's always a good time to start. I mean, these are all aspects too that the parents on the call, great for you to be doing too and practicing. Like everyone can benefit from a bit of mindfulness, gratitude, focus, practicing resilience, deep breathing, all things that everyone can be doing in their everyday life and never too early to start doing it because they'll just build those foundational blocks. Um, for everything you do. So with that ramble on, I'll let Greg take over and he'll tie it into the volleyball aspect. Greg is a great player. When I played with him, he was also my coach for a time. We've worked together for a long time now. He's developed and built some very good winning high performance volleyball teams and taken um, guys and girls from their beginning levels. And some of the people that he've coached have gone on to play pro and are in Europe and in university and doing a whole lot. So it's great to have Greg tying all these mental performance aspects into the volleyball realm from here. So, Greg, just pump your tires a little bit, but don't get used to it.
I definitely won't. Thanks, Cody. Yeah, though you did miss the most important part, I'm proud to say that I am a Ravens alumni. So that volleyball career and the coaching and all that stuff actually started playing for Parkland Ravens as part of the very first men's team way back about 20 odd years ago. And so maybe some of you have seen me. I've gone back and spoken with the Ravens a couple times. And so I'm very excited to work with you all, and you're already so much further ahead than I am just by showing up to this. Um, Club volleyball and mental performance were at a very different stage many years ago. We've developed so much, and the club's come so far. And so I'm stoked to kind of continue that on and keep building and help you become not just the players you want, but the athletes, the people. Um, like Cody's talking about, so much of this, yes, applies to volleyball, but also applies to just life. So, that being said, we've gone through the intro. We're going to start talking a little bit about athlete mental health. Uh, so, you might be aware as you're kind of starting, eventually you're going to have some physical training, right? You're having practices already. You're starting to think about how much time you're investing, not just in this sport but in sports in general. But on average, right, when it comes to hours of volleyball, you can probably expect 6 to 10-ish, depending on um, the level, and that kind of goes up each year. Additionally, you can think about physical workouts, things along that line are going to help you within the season. If you're playing or just wrapping up your junior high campaigns, then as well, there'll probably be high school ball, all of that good stuff. So you can kind of think rough estimates, probably 5,000 hours, give or take, kind of once you start your club careers in junior high. It's many hours when you look at it from that perspective, but it's also that one where it's many opportunities to improve along the way. And so we're here to help frame some of that and help you develop throughout your time. Additionally, a thing that not every athlete is caught up on is the average cost of playing volleyball, right? The rough estimate, some years is 2000, right? And then if you're playing from a younger age, it can start to rack up quite a bit. That one where we've now kind of come to a spot where most clubs and volleyball athletes understand the physical elements and looking after your body, how to prevent like jumper's knee, things along that line. And so we're here to help you prevent some of that burnout, help you enjoy the sport, help you develop some of those healthy habits to create not just a healthy, productive club career, but if you want to play post-secondary or ultimately end up in the highest league, which we all eventually end up in, and that's some sort of men's, women's co-ed league. It's recreational volleyball is one of the biggest sports in the world, and it's a cool social thing to be able to do no matter what age. If you're have to lower the nets like Cody and I do now in order to jump and perform, great. But it's a sport that you can carry with you throughout your life. Maybe one day you're going to get out there and rally around with your parents or something along that line as well. Can be a ton of fun. So, a couple professional inputs about the importance of volleyball as far as the mental part. Melissa, if any of you have watched the Olympics this past summer, she medaled at the Olympics, and she talks about how mental part makes the difference. It's about how you're going to be able to bounce back. So what we're going to talk about is that ability to bounce back. Resilience is important. In the sport of volleyball, one of you have probably already felt it. You're not going to win every point. Not every point's going to go your way, right? And so what we want to think about is how to get back into that mindset that helps you stay in the zone, helps you be resilient when an issue occurs, and basically how do you push through those tough times. Riley Barnes, one of the people Cody's talking about, that's a friend that we played around with. Talks about how managing your mental health and wellness is super important, direct connection with your physical health and resistance to injury. So not just resilience, but that resistance to injury all takes place. There's a lot of mind-body connection now that we know about. So once you start to really unlock that potential of your brain, not only does it help you with tactics, technical skill on the court, it also helps your body improve, understand, and stay happy, resilient. So, when it comes to what mental health is, we're talking about different goals, what success might look like. Mental health and the brain go hand in hand, and how being healthy gives you a much greater chance of being successful, whatever that success might look like to you. We have a belief that oftentimes, if you become successful, that you'll have basically everything. When you put it that way, it's kind of for the old reference is putting the cart in front of the horse. So you're not going to go super far. You're waiting for success to happen. Chances are that you just miss it, right? Sometimes what you need, you might frame it as I just need to get drafted, or I need to make a team, or our team just needs to win and it will fix a lot of these problems. Or if I play with better players, I'll be happier in a better place. Those are often what we view as good things. They don't necessarily guarantee good health, performance, enjoyment, or development in your given sport. So, for those that don't know, volleyball is what we call like a late developing sport. So, some of you might have been playing other sports. Chances are most volleyball is not the very first sport they're playing. Oftentimes, when you're playing at the U12, 13, 14 level, it honestly it looks like a different sport compared to high school, college, um, or pro volleyball. And we often refer to it as a little bit of a different sport. Some of you might see it be playing triple ball, things along that line. That's because we're really just teaching the basics at this. Compare that to something like hockey or soccer, where oftentimes by the time you hit 13, 14, or tennis, right, you're seen as mostly developed. You've kind of identified who's the best and who has an ability to go up or down, that type of thing. Um, when it comes to volleyball, it's often much later in the athlete's life cycle. So what we talk about for you guys specifically is training to train. So the big part to keep in mind is not what's your performance like with winning Mikasa Player of the Years type of thing at U15 or U16. We oftentimes see players that are that successful at a young age and they don't have those like good fundamental mental building blocks, uh, don't tend to go super far in the sport. And so what we're trying to talk about is some of those fundamentals to help you get where you want to go and to succeed long term, not just for your U14 club year. Good way to frame it is if you think back, right? How many of you would know who won U14 provincials 5 years ago? I'm assuming while you're all thinking about that, none of you have any idea. The reason, right, is at the end of the day, these are just moments in time and those steps. What we really want to do is look at how we can set ourselves up for success over a longer period of time, not just that 1 year. We know there's a lot of pressure and that feeling of, hey, I really want to win right now and do that part. And that's great. We can use that competitive fire to help us get where we want to go, but it's oftentimes taking that long-term approach is really going to help you with your foundation for being a successful volleyball player. So the kind of the counter argument is always right. There's oftentimes people who do succeed at that young age, and maybe they get burnt out or they don't have those fundamentals for resilience or bounce back. When things start to go wrong, they go really wrong for them. Whereas if you are taking a mindset of growth and learning and being very mindful of your approach, not just in sport, but anything new that you're doing, you're going to build a lot of those skills. So when things do go wrong, you're able to recover much faster. So thinking about that, we'd like you to start to think about what are you doing to take care of your brain? This is going to be a little bit different for everyone. We have the ability to just diagnose and, hey, this is exactly how we're going to fix your brain and you're going to help you out and you're going to be a well-oiled machine. Chances are we'd be trillionaires. However, we haven't quite got that far yet. And so often what we talk about is many different tools you can add to your toolkit. Just like you're learning how to pass a volleyball maybe in your midline versus outside your midline, right? Or setting in system, out of system, learning your rotations. These are things to just start to add, to learn, to think about. And then throughout your life, different parts will resonate a little bit more or a little bit less. So the primary job of your brain at this age is to help you focus slash be attentive to learn, which is something we really want to highlight. Remain alert in the zone. Distracted brain is a poor functioning brain. So if you're thinking or you're away or things are coming in, it's really hard to be successful in what you're doing, no matter what that is. Uh, if you're distracted in school, your grades are going to suffer. Parents, I'm certain you all know this. If you're distracted while driving, it's oftentimes a lot more risky. In fact, you're 10 times more likely to get into an accident when you're distracted. Um, if you're kind of scrolling your phone right now or looking at another screen, something along that line, uh, that's okay, right? We're not upset about it, but just know that you're missing out on a lot of the information coming your way. Same thing when your coaches are talking or your parents, anything along that line. That distraction is one of the ways that you end up missing a lot of benefit for you when you're distracted by other things, right? So if you're distracted in practice, sometimes that translates into a game. Maybe lots going on at home. Maybe you've got a friend, a new girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. These can all be distracting. However, at the end of the day, part of the fun of being an athlete and as you navigate is learning how to be in that moment and to block out those distractions. That being said, in order to focus, there are some huge barriers that are common for everyone. Those are usually around sleep, stress, dehydration, right? So some facts about sleep, consecutive nights of poor sleep, reaction times are lowered. They become slower. Your ability to study, um, all of that can be reduced by up to 60% of what you would normally have within normal sleep. So one of the best superpowers you can have, not just in sport, but when we're talking about resilience, being successful in those different ways, is developing great sleep patterns, sleep success, being able to have your brain functioning at that 100%. You might think maybe I've had a bad sleep and I did just fine, but and like that is true, right? We're not here to say that, oh, one bad sleep and you're screwed. There's no way you're going to be successful on the court or in the classroom or in life, right? But what we're talking about is uh, you can get away with things for a short period of time, but not taking care of your mental health does increase the risk of things going sideways over that longer period of time. Great news is like with your demographic, so training to train, um, you have a lot of basically brain cells coming together, forming neural patterns. And so you're actually going to be able to develop and learn these skills a lot easier than even your parents, right? So as you get older, I'm sure Cody, and myself can attest that as you get older, it's a lot harder to develop these patterns, to develop these new ideas or this learning. So you all are right in the thick of it, and we can talk about and learn different fundamental patterns to help you throughout your life. What we do know is going to predict what you're likely to do for the rest of your life. If I were to put money on a team or group, I'd put it on your generation. There's a lot more information, like I said. Um, we didn't have a U13 or 14 Ravens team when I played, let alone some of the physical training or access to information that we all have. So it's one where I'm very excited to work with you all and see where it all goes and how you can succeed on and off the court. So when we talk about some of those athlete mental health, what we're talking about is really um, basically some teamwork, goal-directed activity, setting those goals, pushing your limits. Part of that learning is being uncomfortable. As much as it might feel weird, if you're not feeling, or if you're feeling comfortable all the time, you're not really learning. So, same idea. If you are the absolute best attacker on your team, fantastic. Maybe try to push yourself into hitting a different shot than you're used to, right? So rather than just always hitting your best shot that scores all the time, eventually there'll be a situation where you'll play somebody that can maybe take that shot away, right? So we want to think about pushing your limits, right? That physical health, so the activity, movement is great, but we also want to think about uh, overtraining, risk of injury, right? So at your age, it's fantastic playing multiple sports, doing that. You're going to develop a lot of different patterns, make some friends, get to experience a lot through life. Um, However, we do need to just keep in mind what our body is saying, right? So learning how to listen to our bodies is a huge component of your physical health and your mental health. By starting to listen and learn from your body, we can help reduce risk of injury, as well as that performance stress. A lot of times, that performance stress comes from a place of just kind of pushing or ignoring other problems. So, some of the stuff I might have talked about might have sounded like you. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you necessarily have like a clinical concern. What we're talking about with clinical versus common, right, is a little bit of length of time. Just like when you have one bad sleep, doesn't mean that necessarily you're going to have a bad day the next day. But if you have multiple bad sleeps in a row, then you might have a little bit of a concern. Same thing here, right? So just because you're feeling down, angry, discouraged about your game, doesn't mean that that's unnormal or abnormal. When we're looking at clinical concerns, it's usually 2 weeks or more. When you're looking at losing it in a game, right? So maybe you get very upset, anxious, you forget what you're doing, things like that. That's going to be different than the negative feelings in multiple settings. All right. So sport, like I said, often pushes our limits. And so some of that will result in you being overwhelmed. But if it's spilling into other aspects of our life, that's when we really have some things we should discuss. So a lot of common mental health challenges in athletes, right? It can become depression, adjustment disorder, anxiety, ADHD. So a lot of these, you don't necessarily have to like know exactly what this is or what it feels like at your age. But just be aware if things start to change your mood, you feel different after huge events or after a long periods of time. There can be some things just to discuss. Make sure that you're talking with your parents when you're feeling that part. They're going to be that very first part to helping you through those parts, being able to communicate with them. Also, coaches are another great one to talk to. Um, Maybe not helping you through the ADHD or depression, but they're there to help you find resources, do that part, and that's what we're here for as well. So if you ever need those talks, things like that, then please talk with your coaches, talk with us. Your coaches can help connect, all that good stuff. Once again, it is all focused around your well-being, right? So it's not like there's no negative stigmas, but things along that line. It's just around helping you getting to where you want to go, helping you through some of those tough periods. When it comes to the mental performance, 90% of hockey is mental and the other half is physical. That's pretty close approximation from what I've seen with volleyball players as well. Tough to see on camera, but for Cody and I growing up, for example, neither of us were the biggest players on our team, put it that way. Cody went through, had a lot of success through his physical side. He, for those that don't know, jumps very high, and he was able to solve a lot of problems on that physical side. For me, I was never super athletic. I didn't get up very high, but my ability to think about the game, to prepare, to read, and the mental edge with my visualizations, understanding what people were trying to do, or what where they'd be swinging, or what I could exploit as a setter, or something along that line, was the reason I was able to play at the next level. So I'm not going to go through all of the first framework because we've already been chatting quite a bit, and our focus, the first part, is probably a little yeah, falling down right about now. Uh, that being said, we're just going to talk briefly about some of the focus part as a kind of our first step for you to start considering when you're heading onto the court. So thinking about your brain health and to help with that focus, once again, what's fueling your brain? Brain function is strongly correlated with performance. Primary blocks are the things we talked about. So that's sleep, hydration, managing distraction, being able to calm the mind. So that comes to some breathing, visualization techniques that we'll talk about in a future discussion. What does it actually mean when we're saying focus? You often might hear that, hey, focus, focus, focus. What does that actually mean, right? What does it help? What doesn't it? Really, what we're talking about is just be present back into that moment. There's some different techniques that can help being mindful, so thinking about it, meditation, managing distractions in a busy world. So all those building blocks can really help you bring attention and focus to where you want to, when you want to, is probably the biggest part of that. We're talking about managing distractions, right? A lot of times what we're talking about is sure single task versus multitasking, personal ratings of accomplishment, actual accomplishments of a task, right? It's really hard to resist the urge to multitask, dopamine and the pursuit of success. Basically, we oftentimes really want to succeed and we want to succeed quickly. We want that success, be it dopamine in many different ways, so that happiness. One of the biggest ones that we're all dealing with right now is this, right? Is having your phone instantly connecting, being online, seeing things that give you a little dopamine or a little happiness, easily accessible. They can give you what you want in that short term, but there can be long-term consequences as far as being able to focus and be on task. And so that's one where learning to set boundaries with that, learning how to um, put phones away, put distractions away when you really need to in a tournament or in a practice, things along that line are going to be what's biggest difference between success in what you're trying to do, be it volleyball or sport or education, whatever you want to do. But that ability to really focus in on what you're doing is one of those first building blocks. We want to set you up for success by managing that. Another part to it is confidence, and that often comes from being prepared. So that's a little bit of what we're talking about with breathing, visualization, right? So it's not based on a feeling, it really is understanding what's going to happen, what to expect, right? Thought patterns based on positive self-statements, so learning to control that narrative. And so this is often ones that can be difficult as an athlete at this age when you're still just learning the sport is you're honestly going to fail a whole lot. I have probably missed 15 to 20,000 serves in my life. Cody probably triple that. Um, and that's just part of our sport. Our sport is very much a failure one. But learning how to have that positive speak with yourself, how to come back and be able to be aggressive and still want to get better at the skill you're trying to do. Body language is one that oftentimes we talk about fake it till you make it. Um, or I'll often talk about the worst one is being the double error. So if you make an error, let's say you serve the ball into the net, that's an error, right? So you give the other team a point, but you can make a second error by really hanging your head or walking away from your team because your team will want to care. They'll want to bring you in. Now they've put time and energy into making you feel better, right? What we really want to do is show that confidence that, hey, that I made an error, but I'm still here and I'm ready and I'm mindful for the next point. Changing your mindset about that failure is really important. So, especially at your age when there's just so many fundamental building blocks, right? It's okay to acknowledge negative emotions or failures, be genuine, right? Rehearsing positive thought patterns, I've got this, I have this ability in this moment, are one of the most important things for young athletes is how do I reset my confidence when an error takes place? Because they will take place. The one that I would always do was I would just wipe my hands on my sock. So I'd physically wipe that error away and it just helped me reset to the next point. There's many, many different ways. And so my challenge for you is next time you're watching older athletes play, I know some of you have gone out and checked out some college matches already. That's fantastic. Check how the very best respond to their errors, right? So they hit a ball into the net or they double touch a set or something along that line. It happens to everyone, but how do they carry themselves? What looks like what you want to project? If you can start to figure out something that works for you, you're going to be so far ahead of other athletes at your age. Basically, to summarize, mental health and wellness go hand in hand with success. Really difficult to have success without them. That focus part, so managing distractions and building your brain's capacity to focus. We didn't touch too much on resilience yet, but that's the idea of errors are going to happen. How do we respond to those errors? Building those dopamine moments. What we really mean is building those happy moments. The longer it takes for you to be successful, oftentimes the happier you are. So it took me probably 15 practices to really develop an overhand serve. I was just very small and I couldn't really hit the ball over the net. And so I just kept working at it. And that was one of my proudest moments around your guys' age was learning how to serve overhead and doing it aggressively. My first ace, I was so excited because I knew I had worked really hard on developing that serve. So that long-term approach helps you, and it's going to help you stay confident on the court. Reminder, we're here to help you be elite. If you have those questions, not so much concerns, but questions at this age or how to do this or why a certain player might be doing something one way or the other, we love to have those discussions and help you through that journey. Gonna toss it over to Cody to wrap up here.
Yeah, no, thanks, Greg. And that it's really this one is just meant to be a precursor and an introduction into the tie-ins between mental health, wellness, and performance. So, um, those are the main components. And then throughout the year and more sessions, we'll get into more dedicated and tailored techniques to help you perform in certain moments or understand different things. But I think the big takeaway from today's session and what Greg had talked about, it really is understanding just what and where mental health is. And if you have any concerns around that or you're just not feeling that good, you can always reach out to your parents, coaches, or get a hold of us in some way, and we can help you with a lot of that stuff. But you're starting your journey into this world, and just the little things that Greg discussed, and then the things we'll continue to discuss, will help you build that performance. So, for a takeaway homework moment for everyone, I know no one wants homework, but this was going to be one that will help you. Is that reframe. So, just to go over that again quickly, is when something happens in a game, let's say you go to pass a ball and it goes off your arm and it hits the wall, or you go to serve and it goes and hits into the net, or you miss set, or something happens, just take that one moment to acknowledge that it did happen, uh, acknowledge that it's fine that it happened, and then have your positivity, let's call it a mantra or something you say. Like Greg had said, he'll wipe his socks and he'll get rid of that negative emotion. Um, Lots of people will come up with a little slogan or a saying or a phrase. There's kind of like, I've got this, or you're great at this, or this is my moment. Whatever you want that little mantra to be for you, think of that. So that's your homework, is think of what you can say to yourself that'll prop you up and then get you out of those double negative moments or double errors, like Greg had called it. So the best thing you can do right now is use those two things and then practice those in your practices, in your games. The thing about volleyball is it's a game of errors. It's actually not a game of good things. It's a game of avoiding bad things. And that's how teams lose, is you make too many errors. You don't generally win a game, but you make less errors than the other team is the sport of volleyball. And it's a bit of a crazy one compared to most other sports out there. Um, and that's just how it is. So when you can control your reaction to errors, that's when you're going to come out on top. So, with that being said, I know that was probably a lot of kind of information all over the place, but take those home, think about those components, and if anyone has any questions, you can write it in the chat down below, or you can ask it. Parents, if you're on the call right now, you can always ask us or reach out and send an email to myself and Greg, and we can help you if there's any questions or concerns with your kids or coaches with your athletes or anyone who wants to ask. But I'll open up the floor here just in case. Or Cody, I don't know if you want to say anything or ask a question here, but the floor is your guys's, and we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thanks, Cody. I just really want to thank you guys. That was a fantastic introduction into this, and I'm really looking forward to the rest of this and unfolding and really helping everyone elevate. I'm curious, when you talk about reframing your mental mind after you make a mistake, does it matter if it's more of a physical stimulus you do, like wiping your hands or clapping, something similar, or a verbal cue, something like saying, I got this? Does it matter
Yeah.
really what it is, or
I I think it's very person dependent. You kind of have to figure out what works for you individually. Um, uh, which is hard. The hard thing about mental performance is there's no there's no magic formula, which everyone wants. They want to go and talk to a sports performance person once and say, "All right, well, here we go. That will be the best I can be." So I think it really depends on what fits with the person. I think Greg's was more physical. For me, it was more of a positive talk situation. I mean, that's luckily all the athletes in here are at an age where you can try a bunch of different things and see what works. But a combination of the two is kind of where I'd go. Do a physical rendition, it's like practicing any movement. You're now doing that thing to get your headspace right. So a combination of the two is what I'd say. But Greg, any other?
Yeah, kind of what he's talking about, where it can be a combo, physical, verbal. So the answer is yes. But the other ones that I like to discuss is the nice part is we're playing a team sport as well. So sometimes it's getting outside of yourself, just talking with a teammate. Sometimes you can help each other. One of the best ones, yeah, I do my sock wipe, but I've had a few teammates, and for whatever reason, it really helped me when they made a joke. So I had some funny teammates over the year. Cody definitely was not one of them, but I had a few of them that would crack a joke, make me laugh, right? And that really helped me reset. One of the best ones I can say is try it, right? You don't know necessarily. Sometimes it's a week to week feel. Um, One way you can manage it is whatever you're trying that week. We used to just tape our water bottle right on there, what you were trying to do with your reset. So maybe it's, hey, tell me a joke, or maybe it's give me some verbal cue, or maybe it's just let me vent for 3 seconds and away I go, whatever it might be. But communicating with not just your teammates, but that can also really help your communication with your coaches as well, is they don't necessarily know how you're resetting, but we're all coaches are there to help and to help you get back on track. And so starting to, hey coach, right now I'm really trying to do this to reset and it's something I'm working on. The more people you talk to about it, A, the more that you'll actually do it, and B, as well, the more understanding you have of each other.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, gentlemen. I just see a question about having access to the recording after.
Yep. I will, once it renders, I'll fire it off to you guys. I'll format it a little bit and then you can distribute it. I'll host it on YouTube, so you'll just have to send out the link and then everyone has access to it again.
Beautiful. I will, yeah, you can distribute that to me. And I don't know that everyone has your guys' contact information. As a worst case scenario, too, people can always get in touch with their coaches who can get in touch with me, and we can definitely relay things that way as well.